The Unwelcome Intrusion. Los Angeles, 8:00 p.m. The golden glow of twilight bathed the city in a dreamy haze as luxury cars lined up outside El Detoile, the pinnacle of exclusivity in Los Angeles. It wasn't just a restaurant. It was a fortress of wealth and power where only the elite could claim a table. Inside, the hum of whispered conversations filled the air, punctuated by the occasional clink of crystal glasses. Every element of El Detoile, from the imported champagne to the hand-carved marble floors, existed to remind visitors that this was not just dining. It was an experience reserved for the untouchable class. Waiters glided through the room like ballerinas, moving in perfect harmony, ensuring no guest's glass was ever less than half full. Beneath the glow of chandeliers, the patrons, CEOs, socialites, and Hollywood's elite sat in quiet reverence, their very presence solidifying their status in society. And then, the front doors swung open. "OMG, guys, you won't believe where I am." The shrill, exaggerated voice cut through the sophisticated air like a blade. A moment of silence followed as every head in the restaurant turned toward the disruption. The voice belonged to none other than Lana Dio, better known as Lana Lux, to her 3.2 million social media followers. She strutted inside, her phone held aloft, capturing every angle of her entrance for her livestream. Her dress, a shimmering, skin-tight number that sparkled under the chandeliers, left little to the imagination. Her platinum blonde waves bounced with every confident step, and her heavily contoured face was permanently fixed in a camera-ready smile. "This is the most exclusive restaurant in LA. And of course, I got in," she announced, twirling dramatically for her audience. The maitre d', a poised Frenchman named Pierre, stiffened at the sight of her. El Detoile did not cater to influencers. This was a place of refinement, not clout-chasing theatrics. But Lana Lux was already inside, and cameras were rolling. Any attempt to remove her would only spark a scandal, so Pierre forced a smile and bowed slightly. "Welcome, Mademoiselle Lux. Do you have a reservation?" Lana scoffed. "Sweetie, I don't do reservations. I am the reservation." Pierre's jaw tightened. He knew the type, self-important, desperate for attention, and utterly oblivious to the atmosphere she was disrupting. Before he could politely inform her that El Detoile was fully booked, a commotion behind her caught his attention. A man in a dark hoodie had just entered. He moved quietly, almost as if he wanted to go unnoticed. His dark jeans and scuffed boots were an immediate contrast to the designer-clad patrons around him. He kept his head down, hands stuffed into his pockets. Lana Lux immediately caught sight of him. Her lips curled in a smirk. Oh, this was gold. Hold up," she said loudly, spinning her camera toward the man. "We've got an intruder, people. Can someone tell me why a literal homeless guy is walking into the most exclusive restaurant in LA?" A ripple of discomfort spread across the restaurant. A few guests glanced at the man before quickly looking away, not wanting to engage in the unfolding spectacle. Pierre hesitated, recognizing the man instantly. But before he could intervene, Lana had already closed the distance, her phone still streaming. "Excuse me, sir," she said in a tone dripping with Fox concern. "I think you're lost. This isn't a soup kitchen." Gasps filled the air. A few diners exchanged nervous glances, while others shifted uncomfortably in their seats. The man, however, remained calm. He lifted his head just slightly, his face still partially obscured by the hoodie's shadow. Lana grinned, sensing an opportunity for more engagement. "Oh my God, this is so embarrassing for you. Like, seriously, do you even know where you are? Did you think you could just waltz in here and—" "Miss," Pierre cut in sharply, his usually composed tone laced with irritation. "I must insist that you show some decorum." But Lana ignored him, stepping closer to the man. She reached for his hood, ready to yank it back for dramatic effect. The man, however, spoke first. His voice was quiet, yet carried the weight of authority. "I have a reservation. Lana blinked, thrown off for a split second. Then she laughed. "Oh, that's rich. A guy like you. Here, please, tell me, whose name did you use? Or did you just sneak in while the door was open?" The man finally lifted his head. And just like that, the entire restaurant froze. The rugged features, the deep-set eyes, the unmistakable aura of quiet humility. Every person in the room recognized him in an instant. Keanu Reeves. The air seemed to be sucked out of El Étoile in that moment. The once muted conversations ceased entirely. Someone dropped a fork. Lana Lux stood rooted to the spot, her smug expression melting into sheer panic. Pierre, on the other hand, straightened immediately. "Ah, Mr. Reeves," he said smoothly. "Your usual table is ready. Please, follow me." Keanu gave a small nod, his expression unreadable as he walked past Lana without so much as a glance in her direction. Lana, in a last-ditch effort to salvage the moment, turned to her camera. Guys, I was just joking, obviously. It was just a prank." But her comment section was already turning against her. Did she just insult Keanu Reeves? "Girl, your career is over." The audacity to call him homeless. Unfollowed. Panic surged through her as the reality of what she had just done settled in. Meanwhile, Keanu took his seat, calmly picking up the menu as if nothing had happened. But across the restaurant, whispers continued. The girl who had built her empire on being adored online had just humiliated herself in front of millions. And she was about to realize that some mistakes couldn't be undone. The backlash begins. Lana Lux stood frozen in place, her grip tightening around her phone as the live comments rolled in like a tidal wave of outrage. "Lana, you just embarrassed yourself so badly. You called Keanu Reeves a homeless guy. Girl, what? This is why influencers think they own the world. No respect. We ride for Keanu. You just lost half your fan base." Her pulse pounded in her ears, drowning out the elegant ambience of El Étoile. She had been in the game long enough to recognize the signs. This was not just an awkward moment. This was a full-scale PR disaster unfolding in real time. Her face burned as she forced out a laugh, the kind she used when deflecting uncomfortable situations. Okay, everybody relax," she said, her voice artificially bright. Obviously, it was a joke. Like, come on, Keanu's great. Love him. He's super famous, obviously. But the damage was done. As she scrolled through her chat, she could see the wave turning against her at an alarming rate. And then something even worse happened. The restaurant manager arrived. Pierre, the maitre d', was no longer alone. Behind him stood Alessandro Moretti, the owner of El Étoile himself. A man who rarely made public appearances, Moretti had built his empire on exclusivity, refinement, and most importantly, discretion. El Étoile was meant to be a sanctuary, not a playground for influencers desperate for clicks. His piercing gaze settled on Lana, his expression unreadable. "Miss Lux," he said in a smooth yet firm tone. "A word." Lana gulped. She ended her live stream immediately. The aftermath begins. 10 minutes later, Lana found herself standing in a dimly lit private lounge within the restaurant, away from the prying eyes of the diners. She perched on the edge of an expensive leather couch, her leg bouncing with anxiety. Across from her, Alessandro Moretti stood with his arms crossed, his expression unyielding. "Do you have any idea what you have just done?" he asked, his voice eerily calm. Lana flipped her platinum hair over her shoulder, trying to regain her composure. "Okay, first of all, that was totally blown out of proportion. I didn't know it was Keanu Reeves. I mean, come on, he was wearing a hoodie. How was I supposed to know?" Moretti's stare hardened. "That is precisely the problem. You assumed. You judged a man based on his appearance, and you did it in my establishment." Lana rolled her eyes. "Oh, please. He probably doesn't even care. I bet he is a personal friend of mine," Moretti interrupted, his voice dangerously low. And I do not take kindly to my friends being humiliated in my restaurant. Lana's stomach dropped. She opened her mouth to protest, but Moretti lifted a hand, silencing her. Effective immediately, you are permanently banned from El Vitual, he said. Your name will be blacklisted from all of my establishments worldwide. And given that I have close relationships with many of the elite venues in Los Angeles, I strongly suggest you find somewhere else to dine. Lana's mouth fell open. Wait, hold on. You're banning me. You can't be serious. Moretti arched a brow. Do I look like a man who is joking? She let out a short, nervous laugh. Okay, listen, we can fix this. What if I do a PR thing? Like an apology video. I can totally make this go away. Moretti simply turned to Pierre. Escort her out. Lana felt her stomach churn. This couldn't be happening. Wait, just wait a second, she pleaded. This place thrives on publicity. I can turn this around. I can make this a viral moment in a good way. Just let me. Pierre stepped forward. Miss Lux, please. Her heart pounded in her chest. She had built her empire on social media, carefully curating her image as untouchable, adored, envied. But this was the first time she was truly being shut out, and it terrified her. As Pierre led her through the restaurant toward the exit, she could feel the weight of every pair of eyes on her. Keanu Reeves was still at his table, speaking quietly with someone. He hadn't even looked in her direction since the incident. Somehow, that made it worse. As she passed by, she couldn't help herself. Hey, Keanu, she called, her voice tight. It was a mistake, okay? I didn't mean anything by it. For the first time, he lifted his gaze to her, and when he spoke, it was with the same quiet, effortless dignity that had made him one of Hollywood's most beloved figures. Maybe next time, think before you speak. Lana's breath hitched. Then, without another word, he returned to his meal. And just like that, Lana Lux, the influencer who always got what she wanted, was escorted out of the most exclusive restaurant in Los Angeles. The social media firestorm. By the time she got back into her car, her phone was already exploding. Trending number 1 on Twitter, hashtag Keanu Reeves deserves better. Trending number 2, hashtag Lana Lux cancelled. Trending number 3, hashtag respect Keanu. Her DMs were flooded. Other influencers, brands, even some of her so-called friends were distancing themselves from her in real time. Worse, she was losing followers. Fast. Minus 10,000, minus 30,000, minus 50,000. Every time she refreshed, another chunk of her audience vanished. Her brand deals were next. Companies that had once lined up to work with her were now quietly pulling their contracts. One PR rep even sent her a message directly. Lana, we can't be associated with this level of backlash. Effective immediately, our partnership is terminated. She let out a strangled gasp. This wasn't just a bad night. This was career-ending, and there was nothing she could do to stop it. Her fingers trembled as she opened Instagram. Maybe a quick apology post would soften the blow. Maybe if she cried on camera, people always responded to that, right? But before she could hit record, a new notification appeared. Keanu Reeves has posted. Her stomach twisted, and then she saw it. It was a simple photo of a plate of pasta, with a short caption beneath it. Had a great meal at El Vitual tonight. Remember, kindness costs nothing, but means everything. The comments under his post were flooded. Class act. Lana Lux should take notes. Keanu is everything she'll never be. Humble. Lana slammed her phone down. For the first time in her life, she realized her power, her status, her clout meant absolutely nothing. And there was no influencer sponsorship, no PR stunt, no Instagram filter that could change that. The collapse of an empire. Lana Lux had always believed she was untouchable. She had built her brand from nothing, clawing her way up through relentless networking, manufactured drama, and a carefully curated image of perfection. But as she sat in the back seat of her custom-wrapped Rolls-Royce, staring at her phone in horror, she realized something that sent a shiver down her spine. This wasn't just a bad PR moment. This was the end. The fallout begins. As her driver pulled onto Sunset Boulevard, Lana scrolled through her notifications, each one making her heartbeat race faster. Instagram, minus 112,000 followers. Twitter, hashtag LanaLuxCancelled, still trending at #1. TikTok, viral edits of her humiliating encounter with Keanu Reeves had already amassed millions of views. Every time she refreshed, another sponsorship dropped her. Her phone buzzed, and she grabbed it desperately. Incoming call. Elise, talent agent. Finally, someone who could fix this. Lana swiped to accept. Elise, you need to do something, she said immediately. This is getting out of control. A sigh came from the other end. Lana, there's nothing to be done. What do you mean, nothing to be done? You're my agent. Not anymore. Lana froze. Wait, what? The agency is dropping you, Elise said. Her voice was steady but devoid of sympathy. Look, we've managed PR disasters before, but this. Keanu Reeves. You didn't just insult an A-list celebrity. You went after Keanu Reeves. The internet worships him. No one is coming to your defense. Lana's chest tightened. I can apologize. I'll donate to charity. Do a public statement. Cry if I have to. Just tell me what to do. It's too late, Elise said simply. Every major brand you've worked with has either terminated or is in the process of terminating contracts. Your biggest sponsors, Guxy, Dior, and that luxury skincare line. Gone. You're toxic now, Lana. No one wants to touch you. Lana felt the world closing in. Elise, I made you millions. You can't just leave me like this. And now you're losing millions, Elise said. Lana, the agency doesn't represent liabilities. This is the last time we're speaking. I suggest you find a good PR crisis manager, if anyone is even willing to take you. The call ended. Lana stared at her phone, unable to breathe. She was officially alone. The public turns against her. By the time she arrived at her penthouse apartment in Beverly Hills, her security team was already dealing with a growing mob of paparazzi and protesters outside. Cancel Lana. Ki ain't deserves respect. Humiliate heroism. People held up signs. Some threw fake dollar bills with "Clout Chaser" written on them. Her doorman gave her a disapproving glare as he let her in. Even he thinks I'm a joke now, she realized with a sick feeling in her gut. The moment she stepped inside, she collapsed onto her pristine white couch, her hands trembling. She needed a way out of this. She opened Instagram Live. Her reflection stared back at her. Platinum blonde waves still perfect, makeup flawless. But for the first time, the confidence in her eyes was gone. She hit go live. Lana Lux is now live. Thousands flooded in instantly, but instead of the adoring messages she was used to, the comments were brutal. Fake tears incoming. Girl, don't even try it. We're done with you. Apologize to Keanu, and then disappear. She swallowed. Breathe, Lana. You can do this. Hey guys, she said, her voice trembling. I just wanted to come on here and say that I never meant to offend anyone. I didn't recognize Keanu at the time. And her words were cut off by a flood of laughing emojis and sarcastic comments. You didn't recognize the most famous man in Hollywood. Lamau. This ain't it. No accountability. Typical. Lana's frustration boiled over. Oh my God, will you all just chill? She snapped. I made a mistake, okay? Are we really going to ruin my entire career over this? I bring entertainment. I create content. Meanwhile, Keanu is just a dude in a hoodie. Live ended. Instagram had shut her down for violating community guidelines. Her heart pounded. That had never happened before. She refreshed her page. A notification popped up. Lana Lux's account has been temporarily suspended for violating policies on harassment and bullying. The world tilted. Her own platform, her lifeline, was turning against her. The final blow. She didn't sleep that night. By morning, her bank had called. Miss Lux, due to the termination of several of your brand deals, your projected income has significantly decreased. As a result, we can no longer approve your loan for your upcoming business venture. The real estate agent for the second penthouse she had been planning to buy also pulled out. And then came the worst call. Her landlord. Miss Lux, due to the recent controversy, the building's board has decided not to renew your lease. You have 60 days to vacate the premises. What? We have a brand to uphold. I'm afraid your presence is now unwelcome. Lana hung up, her hands shaking violently. This was a nightmare. Her empire, her wealth, her life was crumbling before her eyes. And there was nothing she could do. Keanu speaks again. That evening, as she desperately tried to salvage what was left of her social presence, she saw a new post from Keanu Reeves. A simple black and white photo of him sitting at a quiet cafe, looking out at the city. The caption read, "We are not what we own. We are not our followers. We are the way we treat others when no one is watching." The comments were flooded with praise. And for the first time, Lana understood something. Keanu hadn't done anything to destroy her. She had destroyed herself. With one careless moment of cruelty, she had shown the world exactly who she was. And they had decided they didn't want her anymore. The end of Lana Lux. By the next week, every major entertainment news outlet had covered her downfall. Her penthouse was packed into moving boxes. Her bank accounts were dwindling fast. And the final insult. A brand new influencer had already taken her place. One younger, fresher, and untainted by scandal. Her reign was over. As she scrolled through social media on her now shadow-banned accounts, she realized one undeniable truth. Fame was fragile. Clout was temporary. And respect. Respect was earned. And she had just learned it the hard way. The fall from grace. Lana Lux had always been a name synonymous with extravagance, influence, and power. Her life had been a carefully curated masterpiece. Each Instagram post meticulously edited, every public appearance engineered for maximum impact. But now she was invisible. It had been 3 weeks since the incident at Ul de Toile. 3 weeks since she had humiliated herself in front of Keanu Reeves and the entire world. 3 weeks since her social media empire had imploded before her very eyes. And she was still falling. The cost of being canceled. Lana had never believed in cancel culture. She used to scoff at influencers who cried about being deplatformed. Just rebuild, she used to say. Find a new angle. But when you are the one being canceled, when the very foundation of your life crumbles beneath you, rebuilding isn't so simple. She was losing everything. Her penthouse, eviction notice posted on her door. Her bank account, frozen due to pending lawsuits from brands that wanted their money back. Her Instagram, permanently deleted after multiple reports of harassment and online bullying. Her YouTube channel, demonetized. Her luxury cars, repossessed one by one. And the worst part, her friends, the same influencers who used to flock around her, who used to beg to be in her videos, were nowhere to be found. The same people who once called her Queen Lana had now blocked her, unfollowed her, or worse, or actively mocking her downfall online. One of her former best friends, a fellow influencer named Madison Ray, even made a TikTok titled, "How Not to Ruin Your Career." The Lana Lux Lesson. It had 6.2 million likes. Lana watched the video in stunned silence. "You guys, I used to be friends with Lana Lux. Like, we were tight. But let me tell you, she was always like this. The girl is a mean girl, straight up. And you saw it firsthand. She thought she could talk down to Keanu Reeves. Keanu Reeves. People. Like he was some nobody. You don't get to treat people like that and expect no consequences. And let's be real. She's only sorry because she got caught. Lana's hands trembled with rage. Madison was lying. They had been friends. They had built each other's platforms together. Madison had begged her for brand collaborations, had cried when Lana got a deal with Gucci before she did. And now she was capitalizing on Lana's downfall. The betrayal felt like a knife twisting in her gut. No way out. Lana sat on the floor of her near-empty penthouse, scrolling through her emails. Each one was worse than the last. Brand termination notice. We are severing all ties with you. Bank overdraft alert. Insufficient funds. Legal notice. You are being sued for breach of contract. She pressed her hands to her temples, feeling her reality crumbling. This wasn't just a bad moment. She was ruined. A knock at the door jolted her. Her heart raced. Paparazzi. A process server. She peered through the peephole. It was her mother. Lana hesitated before opening the door. Her mother, Margaret de Oliveira, had always been a force of nature, sharp, unyielding, and completely unimpressed by Lana's social media stardom. Unlike her daughter, Margaret had worked for everything in life. She had built a small but successful interior design business with real hard work, not sponsored posts and brand deals. And now, for the first time in years, she was standing in front of Lana's door. "You look terrible," Margaret said bluntly, stepping inside without waiting for an invitation. Lana scowled. "Nice to see you too, Mom." Her mother's eyes swept over the nearly empty penthouse. Boxes stacked in the corner. The expensive furniture Lana had once boasted about was either sold or waiting to be moved. "So," Margaret said, crossing her arms. "It finally happened. What is that supposed to mean?" Lana snapped. Her mother sighed. "I warned you. I told you years ago that building your life around social media was a house of cards. That eventually it would all come crashing down. And now here we are." Lana's throat tightened. "I can fix this." Her mother raised an eyebrow. "Really? Because from where I'm standing, you're completely broke, homeless in 2 weeks, and everyone in the world hates you." Lana's temper flared. "Wow, thanks for the pep talk, Mom. Super helpful. You want help? Fine. Let me ask you something. Who are you when you take away the fame? When the cameras are off, when no one is watching, who is Lana Lux?" Lana's lips parted, but no words came out. Because the truth was, she didn't know. She had spent so many years becoming Lana Lux, the influencer, the star, the girl everyone envied, that she had no idea who Lana de Oliveira was anymore. "Exactly," her mother said, reading the silence. "You built your entire identity around being famous. But that was never real, was it?" Lana swallowed hard. "What do you want me to do? Just disappear?" Margaret sighed. "No. I want you to rebuild. But this time, as a real person. Not as some fake internet persona." Lana scoffed. "You don't get it. No one will give me another chance." "Then make your own." Her mother took a step closer, her voice softening. "Lana, you have a choice right now. You can either keep trying to chase fame and lose everything, including yourself, or you can start over. Learn humility. Work hard for once in your life. Build something real." Lana clenched her jaw, refusing to let the tears spill over. "And if I fail," she whispered. Margaret placed a hand on her shoulder. "Then at least you'll know who you are." The first step. 2 weeks later, Lana Lux disappeared from the internet. Her mansion was gone. Her cars, gone. Her designer wardrobe, sold. For the first time in 10 years, she was a nobody. She moved back home with her mother, a small 2-bedroom house in a quiet neighborhood. No luxury, no cameras, no adoring fans. Just real life. And for the first time in her life, she had to work. Margaret got her a job at a local cafe, not as an influencer partner, not as a brand ambassador. As a barista, Lana Lux, the once famous, once worshipped social media star, was now waking up at 6 a.m. to brew coffee for minimum wage, and no one knew who she was. Or worse, some people did recognize her, but instead of admiration, she got smirks, whispers, customers taking pictures of her behind the counter, posting things like, "From Gucci to grinding coffee beans. Oh, how the mighty fall." It was humiliating. It was exhausting. But for the first time in her life, it was real. And she had no idea what would come next. The long road to redemption. Lana Lux used to wake up to the sound of notifications. Her mornings had been filled with emails from brand managers, texts from high-profile influencers, and the soothing hum of online admiration. Now, she woke up to the shrill screech of an alarm clock at 5:30 a.m. She groggily sat up in her childhood bedroom, rubbing her tired eyes. The room was unrecognizable from her old life. No marble floors, no velvet headboard, no custom neon signs flashing Lana Lux. Just plain beige walls, a wooden dresser, and a single window that creaked when opened. And her job? A barista. Just months ago, she had been sipping $500 bottles of champagne at exclusive restaurants, looking down on people like herself now. And yet, here she was, pulling on an apron, tying her hair back, and heading to work at a small coffee shop in a quiet neighborhood where no one cared who she used to be. And the worst part? Some people did recognize her, not as the glamorous, untouchable Lana Lux, but as the girl who got canceled. The walk of shame. The walk from her mother's house to the cafe was only 15 minutes, but it felt like miles. Every step, she expected a camera to pop out, a bystander to whisper, a car to slow down so someone could laugh at her. The first few days, the humiliation had been unbearable. The barista job had been her mother's idea, a way to rebuild her life. But in reality, it was a lesson in humility. And the customers. They made sure she learned it fast. Oh my God, is that Lana Lux? A group of teenage girls whispered in the corner, sneaking glances at her as she worked the register. She knew what they were doing. They were recording her. She could already see the TikToks in her mind. Remember Lana Lux? Well, she made fun of Keanu Reeves, got canceled, and now she works at a cafe lol. She forced a smile as she handed a coffee to a businessman. "Have a great day," she said, her voice strained. He squinted at her. "Wait a second. Aren't you that influencer who got roasted by Keanu Reeves?" Her stomach dropped. She didn't answer. She just turned away, pretending not to hear as the man chuckled and muttered, "What a downgrade." Keanu Reeves, again. One night, after another exhausting shift, Lana trudged home in the rain. She was too tired to cry, too numb to care that her hair was wet, her sneakers soaked. She just wanted to disappear. Then she saw it. On her phone, a headline that made her freeze in place. Keanu Reeves speaks out on cancel culture and second chances. Her heart pounded as she clicked. It was an interview clip. Keanu, sitting calmly across from a journalist, talking about her. Journalist. Recently, a certain influencer tried to humiliate you publicly. She lost her career as a result. Do you think she deserved it? Keanu. Deserve. That's a strong word. I don't think it's my place to say who deserves what. People make mistakes, some bigger than others. What matters is if they learn from them. Journalist. So you think she should get a second chance? Keanu. That's not for me to decide. But I do believe in growth, if she's willing to change, not just for PR, but for real, then maybe one day, people will see her differently. Lana stared at the screen, her throat tightening. Of all people, Keanu Reeves, the man she had insulted, was the only one who wasn't celebrating her downfall. He was the only one who believed she could change. She sat down on the sidewalk, rain pouring around her, and for the first time in weeks, she allowed herself to cry. The apology no one expected. The next morning, she did something she never thought she'd do. She filmed a video. Not in a glamorous setting, not with a ring light. Just her, sitting in her mother's small living room, staring into the camera. And this time, she didn't fake a single tear. "Hi, I know most of you probably don't want to hear from me, but I need to say this anyway. I was cruel. I was arrogant. I was so obsessed with being important that I forgot to be a good person. And I hurt someone who didn't deserve it. I hurt a lot of people, actually. Keanu Reeves showed me more kindness than I ever deserved. And while I don't expect anyone to forgive me, I want you to know I am trying. And this time, it's not for clout. It's not for money. It's because I don't want to be the person I used to be. I don't know if I'll ever rebuild my career. Maybe I don't deserve to, but I want to be better. And that starts today." She hit upload, and she waited. The internet reacts. At first, silence. Then, she actually admitted she was wrong. For once, an influencer apology that isn't fake. Ick if I forgive her, but this feels real. Keanu was right. Maybe people can change. The video went viral. Not in a hate train way, but in a maybe there's hope way. And then, the biggest shock of all. A comment from Keanu Reeves himself. Keanu Reeves official. "Growth is a journey. Keep going." The internet broke. And for the first time since her downfall, Lana Lux felt something she hadn't in a long time. Hope. Rebuilding from rock bottom. Lana Lux had spent years at the top, living a life most people could only dream of. She had worn designer dresses on private jets, attended the most exclusive events, and amassed millions of followers who worshipped her every move. Then, in a single moment of arrogance, she lost it all. And now she was just Lana de Oliveira, a former influencer, a cafe barista, and a woman trying to make sense of what was left of her life. But for the first time in years, she was no longer pretending. She was finally living. The power of a single comment. Keanu Reeves' comment on her apology video had set the internet ablaze. Keanu Reeves official. "Growth is a journey. Keep going." It was only 7 words, but it changed everything. Her video, which had been slowly gaining traction, exploded overnight. Millions watched it. Hundreds of thousands commented. And shockingly, not everyone was there to hate her. I never thought I'd say this, but maybe Lana really is changing. Okay, I was her biggest hater, but this actually feels real. We've all made mistakes. Maybe she deserves another chance. Her follower count, which had been bleeding out like a fatal wound, stabilized. Then, for the first time in months, it grew. Not by millions, not overnight, but by real people, people who wanted to see if she was serious about redemption. And for the first time ever, Lana didn't care about the numbers. She just wanted to prove that she meant it. A different kind of spotlight. Working at the cafe had become a daily exercise in humility. Every morning, she woke up at dawn, tied her apron around her waist, and served coffee to customers, some of whom recognized her, most of whom didn't care. The first few weeks had been pure humiliation. Now it was routine. She found herself enjoying the quiet moments, the smell of freshly brewed espresso, the warmth of the cafe's small community, the satisfaction of doing something that wasn't about fame. One afternoon, as she was wiping down the counter, the door chimed. She turned and froze. Standing in front of her, wearing his signature black jacket and an easy smile, was Keanu Reeves. Face to face with Keanu Reeves, Lana's heart pounded. For months, she had been haunted by his name, his face, the moment she had humiliated him in front of millions. Now, he was right here, and she had no idea what to say. Keanu, however, acted as if this was just another casual afternoon. "Hey," he greeted, stepping up to the counter. "Can I get a black coffee?" Lana blinked. You're really here." Keanu chuckled. Yeah, I come here sometimes. She swallowed hard, gripping the edge of the counter to keep herself steady. I, thank you. For what you said. Online. I didn't deserve that. Keanu studied her for a moment, then gave a small nod. You're right. You didn't. Lana flinched. She had expected him to sugarcoat things. Instead, he was giving her honesty. But he continued, people don't change overnight. It's a process. And from what I've seen, you're doing the work. Lana's throat tightened. I'm trying, she whispered. Good, he said simply. Then keep going. She nodded, then quickly turned to make his coffee, her hands slightly trembling. As she handed him the cup, she finally worked up the courage to ask, do you hate me? Keanu took a slow sip, then shook his head. No, you're not the first person to let fame get to your head. And you won't be the last. But the real question is, do you hate yourself? Lana felt the weight of the question settle on her shoulders. Did she? For months, she had been drowning in shame, in regret, in the public hatred that had been thrown her way. But hate. She didn't hate herself. Not anymore. Because for the first time in her life, she was earning her redemption. Redemption isn't instant. Keanu's visit didn't magically fix everything. She was still a nobody in the influencer world. She was still living with her mom, struggling to figure out her next steps. She was still working minimum wage, trying to pay off the debts that had piled up after her downfall. But things were different now. She started using social media again. Not for sponsorships, not for clout, just to document her journey. So, today I made my first real paycheck. Not from brand deals, not from followers, but from actual work. And it felt good. Here's something I never thought I'd say. Being a barista has been one of the most humbling, important experiences of my life. The internet knew me as Lana Lux, but that person was fake. So let me reintroduce myself. I'm Lana de Oliveira, and I'm just figuring things out like the rest of you. The views weren't in the millions. She wasn't viral anymore. But the people who followed her now, they were real. And for the first time, so was she. A message from an unexpected source. One day, a new email landed in her inbox. We'd like to talk. From a film production company. Lana frowned, confused. She opened it. Lana, we've been following your journey over the past few months. Your story, your fall, your humility, your growth, is something we believe people need to see. We'd love to discuss a documentary about your rise, fall, and redemption. Let us know if you're interested. Lana stared at the screen. A documentary. About her. For the first time in years, an opportunity had come her way that wasn't about fame or ego, but about truth. A story where she could finally own her mistakes and show the world that redemption was possible. And maybe, just maybe, this wasn't the end of her story. Maybe it was only the beginning. The final chapter, a different kind of fame. Lana de Oliveira sat in a small, dimly lit coffee shop, not as an influencer, not as a socialite, but as a woman who had lost everything and was finally learning what it meant to rebuild. The offer from the documentary producers had been sitting in her inbox for a week. She hadn't responded. Because for the first time in her life, she wasn't sure if she wanted the spotlight anymore. The old Lana Lux would have jumped at the opportunity. She would have seen it as a way to reclaim her influence, to make a comeback. But the new Lana, she wasn't sure if she even wanted to be famous anymore. A call she didn't expect. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She hesitated, then picked up. Hello. Lana. It's Keanu. Her breath caught. She hadn't spoken to him since the day he came into the cafe. How did you get my number? She stammered. I have my ways, he said lightly, but there was warmth in his tone. I heard about the documentary offer. Of course he did. He was Keanu Reeves. He probably heard about everything. Yeah, she admitted. I don't know if I should do it. There was a pause. Why not? Lana exhaled, gripping her coffee cup. Because I don't want to be that person again. I don't want to chase fame anymore. I don't want to be Lana Lux again. Keanu was quiet for a moment before he spoke. Then don't tell a story about her. Tell a story about you. Lana frowned. What do you mean? The world saw your fall. Now show them your rise, not to fame, but to something real. Lana blinked. She had spent so long thinking the world only cared about drama, about clout. But what if Keanu was right? What if this was her chance, not to reclaim the past, but to finally own her truth? The documentary that changed everything. 2 months later, the cameras rolled. But for the first time in her life, they weren't set up for perfect lighting. There was no script, no filters, just her. The documentary, eventually titled From Lux to Lana, a story of humility, was a glossy, PR-driven redemption arc. It was raw. It was unfiltered. And it told the whole truth. The rise, how she built an empire on shallow fame, selling a lifestyle she didn't even truly live. The fall, the night at Lily Toil, the Keanu Reeves incident, and the brutal cancellation that followed. The aftermath, losing everything, her money, her home, her so-called friends, and being forced to start over. The real redemption, learning to work an honest job, reconnecting with her mother, and understanding the value of humility. The most powerful moment of the documentary, the moment she sat down for a face-to-face interview with Keanu Reeves himself, a conversation that mattered. When you saw me that night at the restaurant, what did you think of me? Lana asked Keanu. Keanu took a sip of his coffee, considering. I saw someone who was lost. Lana's throat tightened. Did you hate me? Keanu shook his head. No. I've seen too many people lose themselves to fame. It's easy to judge, but the truth is, power can corrupt anyone. The real test is what happens when you lose it. Do you become bitter, or do you learn from it? Lana let out a shaky breath. And, do you think I learned? Keanu gave her a small smile. You tell me. Lana blinked back tears. For the first time in her life, she knew the answer. Yeah, I did. The reaction that no one expected. When the documentary aired, Lana expected backlash. She expected people to call it a pity tour, a desperate attempt to claw her way back into the public's good graces. But the reality shocked her. I never thought I'd say this, but I respect her now. This isn't some fake influencer apology. She actually lived through it. Keanu saw something in her before any of us did, and maybe he was right. The views skyrocketed, but for once, it wasn't about clout. It was about the message. The invitation that changed everything. A month after the documentary aired, Lana received an invitation. Not to a party, not to a brand event, but to speak at a youth center in Los Angeles. The director wrote, Lana, many of the young people here look up to social media influencers, but they don't understand the cost of chasing fame. Your story could help them see what truly matters. Would you be willing to speak? Lana reread the message 3 times. Then she made her decision. She would do it. Not for the cameras, not for the followers, but because it mattered. 1 year later, Lana stood in front of a small group of teenagers, holding a microphone. Hi, she said, looking out at the young faces watching her. Most of you probably don't know me. A few years ago, I was an influencer named Lana Lux. I had millions of followers, luxury everything, and thought I was on top of the world. She took a deep breath. And then I lost it all. The room was silent. For a long time, I thought my life was over. That without fame, I was nothing. But I was wrong. Because the truth is, I wasn't really living until I lost everything. A girl in the front row raised her hand. So, do you wish you were still famous? Lana smiled. Not in the way I used to be. She glanced at her phone. where she had one new notification. A message from Keanu Reeves. "Proud of you." Lana looked back at the crowd. "I don't want to be famous for the sake of being famous. I want to be known for something real. And if I can leave you with one lesson, it's this. Your worth isn't in your followers. It's in how you treat people when no one is watching." The audience erupted into applause. And for the first time in her life, Lana didn't feel like she was chasing something. She had found something. Something real. Something better than fame.